The Galactic Council Hall floated in the sky like a crystal moon above the world of Giros Prime. It was a place where wars could end, or begin, with a single word. On that day, the air inside the Great Hall was heavy with fear. Leaders from 50 alien races sat in silence around a glowing round table. The blue flame of peace, an ancient symbol, burned weakly in the center. They were waiting for the one who was late, the Terran diplomat, the human. No one spoke his name aloud, but whispers moved through the chamber. "Humans are dangerous," one alien said. "They fight like animals," muttered another. A third voice added softly, "But they never fight without reason." Then, the great silver doors opened. A tall figure stepped in, wrapped in a black cloak that shimmered like oil. His face was calm, eyes sharp, skin a pale bronze. He walked with quiet confidence, every step echoing through the hall. This was Ambassador Elias Ward, the official voice of the Terran Alliance. Behind him walked another figure, taller, broader, dressed in dark combat armor with no markings or symbols. The helmet hid his face, but his movement was steady, smooth, and controlled. A human bodyguard. Murmurs broke out at once. "The diplomat brought a soldier? Is this a threat? What game are the humans playing?" Elias did not respond. He simply walked to the center of the council floor and bowed slightly. "Honored delegates," he said, his voice deep and even, "thank you for your patience." But his bodyguard said nothing. He stood behind Elias like a statue, hands folded behind his back, visor dark and unreadable. The alien leaders could not stop staring at him. The bodyguard's name was Marcus Hale. He had fought in the Siege of Ilarion, a battle most species called impossible. He had survived where others had vanished. He was known for ending wars before they began, yet here in the Hall of Peace he stood still, silent, waiting. Elias looked around the table. "The Terran Alliance has come for peace," he said. "Peace?" a voice hissed. It came from the far side of the table. A tall, silver-scaled alien with burning yellow eyes leaned forward. Commander Drask of the Kothari Empire, a warlord who had crushed entire planets. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "You bring peace? And a killer?" The council murmured again. Elias did not flinch. "He is not a killer, Commander. He is a protector." Drask laughed, his voice low and cruel. "Protecting you from what, human words?" He slammed his clawed hand on the table. "You insult this council with your toy soldier." Marcus did not move, but every motion in the room seemed to shift around him. The guards near the walls leaned away without knowing why. Even the air seemed heavier. Elias only smiled slightly. "I hope, Commander, that you never need to find out what he protects against." For a moment silence ruled the hall. Then an old alien elder from the Vuric species spoke softly. "Perhaps the humans are wise." "The galaxy is full of danger," Drask snarled, but said nothing more. The blue flame of peace flickered again, glowing brighter for a second, as if it had heard the human's words. Elias placed a small metal case on the table. Inside is the proposal for the ceasefire between the Kothari Empire and the Arkan Dominion. Both sides stand to gain more from peace than from another 1,000 dead worlds. Drask's yellow eyes glowed. "You think your words can stop war, Terran?" Elias looked at him calmly. "No, words can fail, but understanding never does." Marcus remained silent, but his helmet turned slightly toward Drask. Just a small movement. Almost nothing, but every soldier in the room noticed it. For some reason, Drask's next words caught in his throat. The council elder nodded. "Let the humans speak. They have earned the right through strength and reason." Elias inclined his head in thanks, but inside he knew this peace talk would not be simple. The Kothari were proud and quick to anger. And Drask, he wanted to fight, not to listen. Marcus scanned the room quietly. His helmet displayed movement patterns, heat signals, and micro-reactions. He could tell who was angry, who was scared, who was planning something dangerous. And one thing was clear. Drask's soldiers were restless. They had not come for peace. When the meeting ended, Elias turned to his bodyguard. "What do you think?" he asked softly. Marcus replied with a quiet, controlled voice. "They're hiding something. The Kothari soldiers are armed. If things go bad, we'll be outnumbered." Elias sighed. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." But deep down, both men knew it would. As they walked through the marble hallway outside the chamber, Marcus stopped suddenly. His visor glowed faintly red for a moment. "What is it?" Elias asked. Marcus turned his head toward a dark corner where a Cathari guard stood too still. "Eyes forward," Marcus said in a low tone. The alien flinched, startled, as if Marcus had read his mind. Elias exhaled slowly. "Let's return to our quarters. Tomorrow we'll continue the talks." Marcus nodded once. "Tomorrow," he said. But his voice was cold. He could feel it. Something was coming. In the distance, thunder rolled across the alien sky. But it wasn't thunder. It was the sound of engines, warships moving into orbit, and Marcus Hale, the human bodyguard, lifted his head slightly, listening. The battle, though no one knew it yet, had already begun. The next morning, the twin suns of Geros Prime rose over the shining towers of the Galactic Council. The air shimmered with silver light, but inside the great hall, the mood was dark. The peace talks had barely begun when Commander Drask's temper finally broke. The alien warlord slammed his claws on the table, sending sparks across the metal surface. "Enough words," he roared. "Peace is for the weak. The Cathari do not bow to threats or to humans." Ambassador Elias Ward stayed calm. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. "No one here threatens you, Commander. We seek peace, not pride." Drask's eyes narrowed to glowing slits. "Then why bring your human weapon into a hall of peace?" Elias glanced at his bodyguard. Marcus Hale stood behind him, silent as ever, his armor reflecting the council's lights. His helmet was still on, his hands clasped neatly behind his back. He looked almost harmless until you looked closer. Then you saw it. That stillness, that calm. The kind of calm that only came before chaos. "The bodyguard is a precaution," Elias said. "Many of us have protectors. You have 20 soldiers waiting outside." Drask's tail lashed the floor. "Mine are warriors. Yours is a predator pretending to be civilized." The room tensed. The Arkan Dominion delegate whispered something to her aide. The elder of the Vurek sighed, already sensing trouble. Elias spoke softly. "Commander, do not mistake discipline for danger." Drask rose to his full height, nearly 8 feet tall, scales glinting like knives. "You humans talk too much. You hide behind rules, treaties, and words. Let us see what your discipline can do without them," the crowd murmured. The challenge had been spoken. According to ancient council law, a commander could call for a trial duel, a single combat to prove one's honor. Usually, such challenges were symbolic, fought with light weapons and honor guards watching. But everyone knew Drask's intent wasn't honor. It was humiliation. Drask pointed one long claw toward Marcus. "You, bodyguard, will you face me in the arena? Or will your master's tongue fight for you?" Elias started to protest, but Marcus's voice stopped him. "Calm, low, steady. I accept." The room froze. Even Drask seemed surprised for a second, then laughed. A cold, rasping sound that echoed through the hall. "Then it is decided. At dawn the duel shall begin." The council elders had no choice. The challenge was within their laws. Elias turned sharply to Marcus as the room emptied. "You shouldn't have agreed." Marcus looked at him through the dark visor. "It was going to happen either way. At least now it's on our terms." "You could die," Elias said quietly. Marcus tilted his head. "Maybe, but if I don't fight, we lose more than a duel. We lose respect, and peace dies with it." Elias said nothing. He just nodded slowly. That night, the city outside glowed with neon rivers of light, but Marcus stood alone on the balcony of their quarters, staring into the alien sky. His armor was open, the helmet set beside him. The air smelled faintly of ozone and iron. His face was calm, his eyes steady, but inside his mind, memories moved like shadows. He remembered battlefields, mud, rain, smoke, the screams of machines and men. He had seen too much, survived too much. He didn't like fighting anymore. But he understood it better than anyone. Behind him, Elias stepped onto the balcony. "You've fought monsters, Marcus. But tomorrow isn't about survival. It's about message. Show them what humans stand for." Marcus gave a small nod. "I'll show them peace doesn't mean weakness." When dawn came, the arena was ready. It floated high above the city, a circular platform surrounded by energy fields, glowing faint blue. Thousands of aliens filled the stands, their faces eager, curious, afraid. The trial duel had become a spectacle. Drask entered first, armored in shining black scales, carrying 2 curved plasma blades. Each swing made the air hum. Marcus entered second, dressed in simple gray combat wear. No armor. No weapon except a short carbon staff strapped across his back. The crowd whispered, "He's unarmed. He's mad. He's human." Drask's laugh echoed over the loudspeakers. "You insult me with this child's stick?" Marcus didn't answer. He only tapped the staff once against the floor. The sound was small, but every microphone caught it. Tap, Elias watched from the observation deck. His hands were clenched, but his eyes never left Marcus. The elder raised his clawed hand. "Begin." Drask charged first, faster than most eyes could follow. His plasma blades slashed through the air, twin trails of burning green. Marcus stepped aside. One move, precise, effortless, the first blade missed. The second met the staff and stopped. For a heartbeat, time froze. Then the staff twisted and the blade shattered in a burst of sparks. The crowd gasped. Drask roared and swung again, furious. Marcus ducked low, pivoted, and tapped the back of the alien's knee with the staff. The mighty warlord dropped to one knee, armor denting with a thud. Marcus stood behind him now, calm and silent, the staff resting lightly on his shoulder. "Yield," he said softly. Drask tried to rise, but the tip of the staff pressed gently against his chest. It didn't hurt, but he couldn't move. Every muscle locked as if the human's gaze alone held him there. Marcus leaned closer, his voice low enough for only Drask to hear. "Humans don't fight for fun, Commander. We fight when we must. And when we do..." It ends fast, he stepped back. The fight was over. The crowd was silent. No cheers, no noise, only awe. Marcus bowed once to his opponent, then walked away. Elias met him at the edge of the arena, whispering, "You didn't just win. You changed everything." But Marcus's eyes were distant, already watching the sky again. He could feel something coming, and he knew. The real fight hadn't even started yet. The duel was over. The arena that once roared with voices now sat in heavy silence. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Drask, the Kothari warlord, still knelt on one knee, his broken weapon glowing faintly on the floor beside him. The green plasma flickered out with a soft hiss. His eyes, burning yellow moments ago, now dimmed with disbelief. The human, Marcus Hale, stood before him, still, calm, unshaken. His staff rested across his shoulder, no sweat on his skin, no mark of strain. It had taken 3 moves. Just 3. From the stands above, thousands of alien spectators watched in stunned silence. They had expected blood, chaos, and glory. Instead, they saw something colder, something cleaner. They saw control. Ambassador Elias Ward stepped onto the edge of the arena, his diplomatic robes trailing behind him. He didn't smile. He simply placed a hand over his heart, a silent sign of respect. "Honor has been shown," the council elder announced, voice trembling. "The duel is complete. By ancient law, the challenge ends here." Drask's claws scraped the ground. "You could have killed me," he said, his voice low. Marcus looked down at him. His words were soft, almost gentle. "That was never my goal." Then he turned and walked away. The cameras captured every step, every breath. Within hours, the footage spread across the galaxy, transmitted through countless news channels, military networks, and diplomatic feeds. Every species saw the same image, a human walking away from victory. A warrior who didn't need to destroy to win. And for the first time in decades, the galaxy whispered not about human aggression, but about human restraint. Later that evening, the council chambers glowed with pale blue light. The room was quieter now, smaller, filled only with the top delegates and their aides. The warlords, the politicians, and the diplomats sat facing each other once more. The mood had changed. The Kothari representatives were no longer shouting. Even Drask, his arm bandaged, sat silently beside his aides. His eyes were fixed on Marcus, who stood behind Elias, helmet removed now, face uncovered. He looked human, yes, but there was something unreadable in his eyes. A weight, the kind carried only by those who had seen too many endings. Elias began to speak. Today was not about strength. It was about control. Commander Drask challenged humanity, and humanity answered, without cruelty. The Arkan delegate, a tall creature with crystal skin, nodded slowly. "Your people fight with precision," she said. "Almost like machines." Marcus met her gaze. No, he said quietly. Machines don't care who they hurt. Humans do. A murmur of agreement moved around the table. Even those who once doubted began to listen differently now. For the first time, the council believed peace might actually be possible. But deep beneath the calm words, something else stirred, hidden in the shadows of the chamber. A small drone the size of a coin hovered near the ceiling. It recorded everything, not for the council, but for someone else, someone watching from orbit. High above Giros Prime, a fleet of dark ships waited behind the planet's moon. Their hulls bore no markings, their engines silent. They had come for one reason only, to ensure the peace talks failed. Their leader, Admiral Krell of the Syndicate, watched the dual footage replay on his holoscreen. His metallic jaw tightened. A single human stopped a war, he muttered. Unacceptable. His second-in-command turned. Do we engage? Krell nodded once. Prepare the first wave. If the Council unites under human leadership, the Syndicate's power is finished. End this before it begins. The ships moved silently into formation. Back in the Council chambers, Elias felt the faintest tremor under his feet. He paused mid-sentence. Did you feel that? Marcus did. He didn't answer. He was already checking his wrist display. His face darkened. He leaned close to Elias. We need to end this session now. Elias frowned. What's wrong? Ships, Marcus said. Dozens. They just broke orbit. Before Elias could respond, alarms began to echo through the hall. Deep, pulsing tones that shook the walls. Lights turned red. The blue flame of peace in the center flickered violently. Panic rippled through the delegates. Guards rushed forward. The council elder shouted orders. Drask jumped to his feet, eyes wide. Who dares attack here? Marcus was already moving. He opened a communication channel on his wrist and spoke quickly. Terran Command, this is Hale. Confirm Syndicate signature. Activate planetary shield grid now. The voice on the other end replied through static. Copy, Lieutenant. Shields coming online. Drask stared at him in shock. Lieutenant? You're not just a bodyguard, are you? Marcus didn't look back. Not today. Through the transparent walls of the chamber, streaks of light filled the sky. Incoming fire. Explosions flashed above the atmosphere like falling stars. The delegates screamed as the first blast shook the entire city. Elias grabbed the table to stay upright. They're targeting the council. Marcus turned, eyes sharp. Then they made a mistake. He pressed a code on his wrist console. Above the planet, hidden satellites activated. A human defense network disguised as weather probes. Energy surged across the sky in a wave of blue light. The first line of enemy ships hit the shield and vanished, silent bursts of white energy fading into the void. The rest of the fleet hesitated. Down below, Marcus lowered his arm slowly. The sound of the alarms faded. The hall was filled with stunned silence once again. Elias stared at him. You knew this might happen. Marcus nodded. I always plan for the worst. Outside, the shattered remains of the Syndicate fleet burned like meteors. Drask watched in awe. Your machines, your weapons, they react faster than thought. Marcus looked at him and said, No, humans do. And for the first time, even Commander Drask felt something he had never known before. Not fear, respect. But Marcus's eyes stayed on the sky. He knew the battle wasn't over. This was just the echo before the storm. Smoke curled through the shattered glass of the Galactic Council Hall. Outside, the sky still burned faint orange where the enemy fleet had died moments ago. The once peaceful city of Giros Prime trembled under the fading echoes of war. Inside the chamber, no one spoke. The alien delegates, once proud, loud, and unbending, now sat frozen in disbelief. Some stared at the ceiling, still half expecting another attack. Others turned their eyes toward Marcus Hale, the human who had ended a battle with one command. He stood in the center of the chaos, armor faintly scorched, visor open. His expression was unreadable. The light from the fires outside reflected in his eyes, making them look like molten metal. Elias Ward, the Terran ambassador, moved beside him. His calm diplomatic mask had finally cracked into something else, quiet shock mixed with pride. You saved everyone, Elias said softly. Marcus didn't reply. He was still watching the sky. His instincts whispered that this wasn't over. Behind them, Commander Drask staggered to his feet, his tail dragging across the floor. The same warlord who had mocked humans less than a day ago now stared at Marcus with something that wasn't fear. It was something far heavier. Respect. Drask stepped forward slowly, claws clicking against the stone. "You stopped a fleet," he said in a low voice. "Without firing a single ship of your own." Marcus turned his head slightly. "I didn't stop it. I prepared for it," Drask frowned. "You planned this?" "Not this exactly," Marcus said. "But humans don't wait for danger to arrive. We assume it will." That single sentence seemed to echo through the hall like a thunderclap. The Arkan delegate, her crystal-like skin shimmering, whispered, "You call that peacekeeping?" Marcus looked at her and replied quietly, "Peace doesn't survive without someone willing to protect it." The council fell silent again. For the first time, the ancient leaders of the galaxy realized something terrifying. The humans didn't seek control. They sought stability, and they were ready to fight for it faster than anyone else. Outside the hall, Terran medics and drones worked fast, clearing rubble and calming the wounded. News reporters floated on anti-grav platforms, filming the ruins, broadcasting the same message across the stars. Human Bodyguard defends the Council. Enemy fleet destroyed before first strike. Within hours, that single story spread across dozens of worlds. On some planets, people cheered. On others, leaders panicked. Everyone understood the same thing. Humanity had changed the balance of power. But inside, Marcus felt no pride. He watched the chaos unfold and thought about the cost. He hated the look in the alien's eyes, fear mixed with awe. Elias approached him quietly. "They'll never forget this, you know." Marcus didn't look at him. "That's not what worries me." "Then what does?" "The next move," Marcus said. "The Syndicate won't stop with one attack. They wanted fear, not victory. Now they have it." Elias nodded grimly. "And fear spreads faster than war." Before they could speak further, a council guard approached. He was shaking. "Ambassador Ward," the alien said. "The council requests your presence immediately." Elias glanced at Marcus. "Both of us?" The guard hesitated, eyes darting toward Marcus's armor. "They insist on the humans' attendance." Moments later, they entered the chamber again. The council had reassembled, though their faces showed exhaustion and their pride was gone. The blue flame of peace still burned in the center, but now it flickered stronger, brighter, almost as if it had witnessed something divine. The elder of the Vurek, his skin like ancient stone, rose from his seat. "Ambassador Ward, Lieutenant Hale, the Council owes humanity its gratitude. But we must ask, how did you know?" Elias folded his hands calmly. "We didn't, we prepared. Earth has learned the hard way that peace is fragile." Drask's tail flicked as he leaned forward. "You act like soldiers, not diplomats." Elias smiled faintly. "Our diplomats know when to bring soldiers," the council murmured. Then Drask stood tall, facing Marcus directly. "You shamed me in battle. You spared me when I deserved death, and now you saved my people from annihilation. I owe you my honor." Marcus shook his head. "You don't owe me anything." Drask stepped closer. "You misunderstand. This isn't a debt. It's an alliance." Elias raised a brow. "The Cathari Empire wants peace?" Drask grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. "No, we want survival. And humans apparently understand that better than anyone." The council erupted into discussion. Voices overlapped, languages mixed. Translators buzzed. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council wasn't divided by fear. They were united by something unexpected. Hope. The oldest delegate spoke above the noise. "Then it is decided. The Terran Alliance will lead the Joint Defense Initiative. Humanity will stand as the shield of peace." Every eye turned toward Marcus. He felt the weight of it all pressing on his shoulders. The expectations, the fear, the trust. He hadn't asked for this. He just wanted to protect one man, one mission. Now he was protecting an entire galaxy. Elias looked at him, his voice quiet. "You just made history." Marcus finally exhaled. "I didn't want history. I wanted peace." But as he looked up through the shattered ceiling, he saw the stars shifting. Behind their beauty, hidden shadows still moved. Later that night, alone in the quiet halls of the Terran embassy, Marcus sat in silence. His armor rested on the stand beside him, scorched and battered. He looked at his reflection in the black glass window. Just a man, tired, scarred human. He remembered every war he'd fought, every face he'd lost, and he realized that peace wasn't the absence of war. It was the courage to stop it before it began. The communicator on his wrist flickered to life. A coded message appeared. Unknown transmission detected. Origin deep space. Encrypted. Syndicate channel. Marcus stared at it for a long time. Then he whispered to himself, "They're not done." He stood, fastening his armor again. The stars outside burned brighter as if watching him. And far beyond the edge of known space, something was coming. Something big, something human would have to face alone. The stars above Giros Prime looked calm again, but Marcus Hale knew better. Calm skies were a lie. He stood on the balcony of the Terran embassy, armored again, watching the darkness stretch across the horizon. The fires from the earlier attack were out, but the smoke still hung like ghosts over the glowing towers. Down below, engineers rebuilt shattered bridges while alien medics tended the wounded. Peace looked alive, but it was only breathing shallowly. Inside the embassy, Ambassador Elias Ward spoke with the council through a holographic feed. His voice carried exhaustion and warning. "The Syndicate attack was only the beginning," he said. "They wanted to test our unity, not destroy us. Next time, they won't hold back." Across the table, holograms of alien leaders flickered in and out. The Arkan Dominion's delegate leaned forward, her crystalline face hard with worry. "You humans think in war patterns. Are you certain another strike will come?" Elias nodded. "Marcus is certain. That's enough for me." The others hesitated. They had seen the humans' instincts before and how right he'd been. When the meeting ended, Elias found Marcus still on the balcony. "You haven't slept," he said quietly. "I don't sleep when the sky's too quiet," Marcus replied. His eyes didn't move from the stars. "There's movement beyond the outer ring. The Syndicate is regrouping," Elias sighed. "Then we prepare again." Marcus turned toward him. "You don't understand. They won't come in ships this time. They'll come through the systems. Sabotage, spies, misinformation. They'll turn your allies against you." The diplomat frowned. "And how do we fight something we can't see?" Marcus's lips curved slightly. "By being what they don't expect. Humans who see before they strike." That night the storm began. The city lights dimmed suddenly, one by one, block by block, until Giros Prime's capital went dark. Power grids failed. Communications broke down. Defense satellites went silent. Panic spread fast. From the window, Marcus watched as emergency lights flashed across the streets. Alien citizens ran through the shadows. The Syndicate hadn't sent bombs or fleets this time, they'd sent fear. He activated his visor. Lines of code streamed across the display. "Elias," he said, tapping his comm. "They've hacked the planetary defense network. They're taking control of the orbital weapons." Elias's voice crackled through static. "We can't stop them remotely." "You won't have to," Marcus said. "I'm going up there." Before the ambassador could argue, Marcus was already moving, sprinting through the darkened halls, boots hitting the floor like thunder. He reached the hangar bay, where a small Terran dropship waited, half damaged from the earlier attack. He climbed in, engines roaring to life. The control AI warned him. "Pilot systems unstable. Unauthorized launch detected." "Good," Marcus muttered. "I like it that way." The ship tore through the clouds, leaving the city behind. The stars drew closer. Above the planet, the Syndicate's stolen satellites spun slowly, glowing with red light. They had been reprogrammed into orbital weapons, each one capable of leveling an entire continent. Marcus gripped the controls tighter. "You want a war, then let's end it fast." He switched to manual flight. The dropship lurched as he dove straight into the cluster. Energy beams flashed around him, lighting the cockpit like a storm. Inside one satellite hidden among the circuitry, Syndicate AI watched the human ship approach. One pilot, organic, illogical risk, but Marcus Hale didn't think in logic. He thought in survival. He disabled the first satellite by ramming the dropship's tail fin into its reactor node. Sparks exploded in zero gravity. The entire weapon went dark. The second satellite targeted him instantly, firing plasma rounds that burned through the dark. Marcus spun the ship sideways, scraping the hull against debris. The impact threw him hard against the seat, but he didn't stop. He locked onto the enemy signal and uploaded a virus, hand-coded, old-fashioned human. Something no alien algorithm had ever seen before. The system screamed as it crashed. One by one, the red lights across the orbital ring flickered out. 2 down. Marcus breathed, chest tight. Then came the third. It wasn't just another weapon. It was a command hub, pulsing with energy. The moment he approached, a deep voice filled his comms. Cold, metallic. Human, you fight like chaos. You should not exist, Marcus smiled faintly. I get that a lot. The satellite fired. The blast tore through the dropship's wing. Alarms screamed. Oxygen hissed. Flames burst in the cockpit. Marcus slammed a fist on the console. Override safety. Redirect power to engines. The AI hesitated. That will destroy the ship. Not if I end this first. He pushed forward straight toward the command hub. Alarms grew louder. The hull melted from the heat, but Marcus didn't slow down. At the last second, he ejected the drop core, a compact EMP device strapped beneath the pilot's seat. It shot forward, spinning into the satellite's reactor, a flash brighter than a sun-filled space. The explosion rippled outward, disabling every connected unit in orbit. The dropship spun wildly, powerless, falling toward the planet. Marcus fought the controls until his hands bled. The ship entered the atmosphere like a burning comet. Below, the citizens of Zeros Prime looked up and gasped, thinking it was another attack. Elias Ward rushed to the command deck, shouting into the comms. Marcus, do you read? Static, then, I'm here, came the faint voice. Mission complete. The satellites are gone. Elias closed his eyes in relief. You're alive. Marcus coughed, smoke filling the cabin. Barely, but tell the council something for me. What? Tell them. This was the quiet part. The signal cut out. The dropship streaked across the sky, trailing fire, disappearing behind the distant mountains. Silence returned to the council city. The orbital threat was gone, but the cost hung heavy. Elias stared at the sky, knowing his friend might not return. And somewhere beyond those mountains, the wreckage of a Terran ship smoldered under alien stars, its pilot still breathing, still watching, still ready. Because Marcus Hale wasn't finished, not while the Syndicate still lived. The wreckage burned for hours in the mountains beyond Zeros Prime. Black smoke coiled into the alien sky, twisting like dark ribbons under twin suns. Search teams from the Galactic Council combed through the valley, guided by drones and hope. They found fragments of metal, melted armor, scorched soil, but no body. Ambassador Elias Ward stood among them, eyes weary, dust clinging to his diplomatic robes. He didn't speak. He just kept scanning the ground, praying for a sound. Then, through the crackle of fire and broken comm signals, a faint voice came through his earpiece. Ward. Elias froze. Marcus? Static answered first, and then a cough, tired but alive. Yeah, still here. Elias let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Where are you? Follow the smoke, Marcus said. And bring water. The crash was rough. They found him half buried under the remains of the dropship, armor cracked, one arm badly burned. But his eyes were open, sharp as ever. When the medics tried to lift him, he waved them off. Save it for someone who needs it, he said. Elias crouched beside him. You destroyed the Syndicate's entire orbital network. You saved millions, Marcus gave a dry smile. That's good. Maybe now we'll have a few hours of peace. Elias frowned. A few hours? Marcus's voice lowered. They'll come again. They always do. They don't understand peace and would only fear. By nightfall, Marcus was back on his feet. The council city shone in the distance, newly powered, alive again. But its people were changed. When he entered the great hall once more, every delegate stood. Even Commander Drask, the proud Kothari warlord, bowed his head in silent respect. The council elder spoke first. Lieutenant Hale of Terra, the galaxy owes you its survival. Your courage has ended a war before it began. Marcus stood straight, helmet under one arm. No, he said quietly. I didn't end a war. I stopped a mistake. The elder tilted his head. Explain. Marcus looked around the room, meeting every eye. Wars don't start with armies. They start with fear. The Syndicate fed that fear. Between us, between all of you. They wanted chaos. They failed because, for once, we stood together. The Archon delegate spoke softly. You gave us unity through battle. Marcus nodded. Now keep it through peace. That's harder. Outside, the news spread faster than light. Across dozens of worlds, beings who once distrusted humanity now spoke their name with awe. The human ended the war before it began. The Terran bodyguard saved the galaxy. But on Earth, when the message reached the Terran High Command, their reaction was simple. A quiet salute, a message sent back, mission complete, awaiting orders. For the next few days, Marcus stayed in the city while engineers dismantled the last remnants of Syndicate tech. The skies cleared. The blue flame of peace in the council chamber burned brighter than ever before. Yet even amid celebration, Marcus felt uneasy. The Syndicate wouldn't simply vanish. Something that organized, that cruel. It had roots. Late one night, he stood again on the balcony overlooking the alien horizon. Elias joined him, 2 cups of steaming tea in hand. Still watching the sky? Elias asked. Old habit, Marcus said. When you've seen as many wars as I have, you stop trusting silence. Elias smiled faintly. You know, you could go home now. Earth would welcome you as a hero. Marcus didn't answer right away. His gaze stayed fixed on the stars. Finally, he said, Heroes belong to stories. I belong to work that isn't done. Elias chuckled. You sound like a soldier. Marcus gave a small nod. No, I sound like a human. The next morning, the Galactic Council held one final assembly. The Elder raised his staff. Let it be known throughout the stars, from this day forward, the Terran Alliance stands as the guardian of peace. All worlds under Council protection shall unite in mutual defense. Cheers rose from the chamber. Banners unfurled. The anthem of the new alliance echoed through the air. But when the crowd turned to celebrate with Marcus, he was gone. Elias found him outside, standing at the base of the hall, staring at a transport ship being prepped for launch. Leaving already? Elias asked. Marcus turned slightly. You don't win peace by staying still. Elias nodded slowly. Where will you go? Marcus looked at the horizon. Where I'm needed next, the diplomat sighed. You'll never stop, will you? Marcus smiled faintly. Someone has to make sure the battle ends before it begins. He offered his hand. Elias took it firmly. For a brief moment, they stood there, soldier and diplomat, war and peace. 2 sides of the same fight. Then Marcus climbed aboard the transport. The engines ignited, light filling the valley. As the ship rose into the sky, Elias watched until it vanished beyond the clouds. He whispered to himself, Safe travels, my friend. High above, Marcus sat in silence, stars gliding past the cockpit. His wound still hurt, his body still burned, but his mind was clear. He opened a small compartment on his wrist display. Inside was a cracked data chip, the last transmission he'd recovered from the Syndicate's mainframe before the explosion. He played it. A distorted voice filled the cabin. Phase 1 failed. Initiate Phase 2. Target Earth. Marcus leaned back, eyes narrowing. So that's your game. He looked out at the stars ahead, each one like a promise and a warning. Then we start early, he murmured. Let's end it before it begins. The stars stretched into white lines as the ship jumped to hyperspace. Back on Geros Prime, the blue flame of peace burned steadily in the hall. The delegates went about their work, unaware of the next storm gathering beyond the edge of known space. But somewhere in that vast darkness, a lone human was already moving toward it, ready to stop another war before it had a chance to start. And across the galaxy, people whispered a new legend. When peace is fragile, and the stars tremble with war, humanity sends not an army, but one of their own. And that's how the battle ended, before it even began.